Hey everyone, it's Rob, and it's been a while since I've made a video, like an actual video. But this time, I kind of want to go over a guitar that I recently got after I had just refinished our basements, other than the trim. Our cat flooded the basement, had to kind of pull everything out, tear out some of the walls, and the whole shebang. But anyways, I got this guitar shortly after finishing that, kind of as a little gift to myself, and after all the money that I'd saved from doing it myself. It's an Ibanez Axion Label RGD, and I'm just going to say 7 string. You can find it online if you really want the full like product number, but there's a bunch of letters and numbers. I'm not going to go through the entire spiel. But essentially, this guitar I got specifically for one purpose, and that purpose was extremely low tunings and to have a modern kind of guitar sounds. And the type of low tunings I'm talking about is drop F sharp at kind of the lowest point. So essentially what Spirit Box plays in, that's kind of what I wanted to be able to play in. And drop F sharp is essentially almost a full octave lower than standard tuning. So super crazy low. And obviously for that, I'll get into this in just a little bit, but you kind of have to have custom strings and that whole ordeal, and there's got to be physical modifications. But first, I kind of want to go over just my general thoughts on the guitar and kind of some things that are kind of special about this guitar. So first of all, this is my first multi-scale guitar, and my thoughts on multiscale and what multiscale is it means that these frets are fanned. So instead of being straight down and flat, they're fanned out for to kind of create different scale lengths. So from on the low string, from here to here is 27 inches, and then on the high string, it's 25 and a half, so your normal scale length. And the reason why it's like this is because it helps tuning stability and it kind of helps intonation, especially on lower tunings. So this is essentially a guitar that's perfect for low tunings and like metal tunings, which most people are probably using the 7 string like this for that type of music anyways, but the multi-scale just really helps in that aspect. The other big thing that is different, that this is a first for me, is actually having these Fishman Fluence pickups. This is the first guitar I have owned in 10 years that has had these, and they are definitely awesome. They definitely have like that trademark sounds that you kind of hear all over nowadays. So it's kind of, I don't want to say it's generic because it's definitely more of like your modern sounds, but these things are the hottest pickups I have ever used in my life. So there's only one tone knob here. So this is like your volume and tone, and I cannot put it all the way up because otherwise it's just like the gain is too high. I've never had an issue like that with a guitar where I've had to actually mess with like not actually have it all the like I couldn't have the volume all the way up on the guitar without having like massive issues. But on this one I do, and there's two ways that I could kind of combat it. It's either I just turn the tone knob down with the volume, so then it kind of brings it to a more reasonable state, which is what I do instead of messing with all my amp settings. But the other way is obviously turning down the gain and the input and everything on the actual amp or the amp sim. So that's the other option that you have with it. But for me, compared to my other guitars, if I just plug this in with the settings that I have for like my comparison or even my other like, so the comparison has passive pickups. If I use like the hottest pickups that I have, which are probably the EMGs, because they're active, it's nowhere near. It is absolutely nowhere near. I don't know why. I don't know if that's how these are, but that is one kind of somewhat complaint about it, is the pickups are so freaking hot that it is absolutely insane, and it's kind of hard to control them at first, and it definitely has to be kind of set up in its own specific thing. So thank God for amp sims where I can have specific kind of profiles for specific guitars and all that stuff, because it makes my life a lot easier. But for the most part, I typically just try to kind of lean off the gain a little bit instead of just blasting it all the way up. So the other thing about it is I think that is, oh yeah, it has the locking tuners, so that's the first time I've actually had locking tuners on a guitar. Haven't actually used these yet and actually put like a strap on, because normally when I play I'm sitting down, but for touring or anything like that, it would be good. One downside to this guitar that I kind of hate is that these aren't stainless steel frets, they're nickel. So most of the time with nickel frets, you're not gonna have a problem unless if you're like really, really hammering down on these and like death gripping the guitar and just like absolutely putting a ton of pressure on it. But still, for a guitar like this, I mean, it's not cheap. I ended up getting this used for like half off the normal price. But if you were to buy one brand new, $1,300 for not having stainless steel frets is kind of not super great. And then you have locking tuners on it. So locking tuners are kind of also expected at this price point. So no complaints there. And they actually stay in tune fairly well, even with the lower tunings. So as I'd kind of said before, I got this guitar specifically for the really low tunings, drop F sharp, that type of thing, more of that modern sound. And on any guitar, even if you were to have like a different 7th string or anything like that, you wouldn't be able to naturally get into these drop tunings with just like a standard string set. I mean, you could try, but the strings are going to be like, it's going to be like macaroni, just flinging all over the place, and it's not going to sound good, and it's not going to be fun to play on. So I actually have a custom string set that I got from Stringjoy, because no matter what string tension calculator that I used online with any of like the normal string sets, I could never get it to like a point where it would work on like a couple of the strings, but then the other strings would either be way too tight or way too loose. So instead, I just opted to get a custom set. So the low string is actually 80, then 54, then I have 40, 30, 19, 15, and then 11 and a half. So when I got this guitar back from the luthier, this is essentially a bass string. This low string, super interesting to play on. It's kind of weird. So this guitar kind of is almost a hybrid between like, you're starting to get into the, well, it's essentially baritone, I guess. That's kind of what 7 strings are kind of leaning towards, is you start getting more into like the bass sections. And but it sounds awesome. And other than that, let's get into some sound tests. So I forgot to mention that I did have more information about kind of the setup on this. So yes, these strings are custom, but with that, because the string is so thick here, they actually have to make physical modifications to the guitar in order for this to fit. So the luthier actually had to drill the tuning peg to make it larger, and then also they had to adjust the nut. So that's just the other thing that I wanted to bring up. All right, let's get into the sound tests. those were the demos that I had. Overall, this guitar is awesome. I really like the Fishman Fluence pickups. I feel like the clarity on them is super nice. The one downside though, again, is they are just ridiculously hot. Um, and I don't know if that's a me thing or if that's a pickup thing, but yeah, they are very hot. So it's not really a negative. It's more of just something that I've noticed with them. But and then yeah, the fan frets I'm still kind of getting used to, but I think as I'm like growing more accustomed to them, it's definitely more it feels really nice playing on them. So I really like that. And then yeah, this thing is just a monster for basically modern your modern sound, and it's exactly what I was looking for when I was looking for like a guitar like this and kind of the way that I wanted to set it up. So to me, this is absolutely perfect. But go ahead and let me know if you guys have any comments or any questions, and I'll see you guys next time.